We know what we have to pay these people. Again, these labor markets generally are pretty competitive. The one for the labor market in which Albert Pujols is hired or not hired is not competitive. But for normal people like you and me, we offer our labor services in markets that are pretty competitive. The market wage rate, the market salary is pretty well known. So the question that the employer, the prospective employer is asking is not, what do I have to pay this person? Because they know that. They're asking, how much extra output are we going to get? How much extra money are we going to be able to sell our stuff for if we hire this person? And if hiring this person is going to allow us to sell a whole lot more stuff and be more than what we have to pay this person in salary and benefits, then it's a profitable hire. But if you're the kind of person that only goes to class when they feel like it, and the human resource person calls your references, and if I'm one of your references, and I've had this happen before, I get a call from an HR person, a human resources person, and they let me talk for 5 or 10 minutes about the student, and then they say, well, how was his attendance? Because if you miss class a lot, they just sort of assume that missing class translates into not going into work, calling in sick, or, regardless of where you actually are, whether you're actually home in bed sick or whether you're at the beach on a day like today. It's too windy for me to row, so I won't be at the lake. They're saying, if this is a person who's just going to blow off work one day a week, then essentially I'm getting 20% less output from that person. And yet I got to pay them a full year's salary and benefits? So there's this comparison between the cost that the firm is going to have to pay the new employee, but the other side is, how much extra output are you going to allow us to produce? How many more sales are we going to make because you work for us? And something that prospective employers want to hear from references is, this student did more than was required. This student went above and beyond. The student clearly had an A, but continued to turned in the 11th homework assignment, even though they had 100 points for homework already. Going above and beyond. That's the kind of stuff that employers love to hear, because it reflects on how much extra output you're going to be able to help that company sell. So, if we need a change in output and a change in the number of workers, then we need 2 data points. And that's why I have this column here where I have some gray zeros. We can imagine that if there's not a single firm, there are 0 firms, and then it doesn't really matter how many workers per firm there are if there are no firms. But without any firms or without any workers, combined output of all firms would be 0. So, in going, I didn't do this yet. So, hit the equal sign, 2.91, hit the division slash, and then the number of workers per firm is 5, and if I click the check mark, then 0.58. Now I could also do that according to the second calculation. I could also do this as the total output, 32 divided by computations or calculations of average product using these two different formulas. For marginal product, I want the change in output, and this can be per firm, and change in number of workers. This should be per firm. Now this is a way in which Excel is pretty smart. I'm going to need a difference. I'm going to need a difference here, and I'm going to need a difference here. Well, the change in output from to session 1 with the implied zeros for session 0, I guess. Yes, I have a gray 0 in there for session number. The marginal product of labor. The change in output is the 32. Now let's do a total output per firm. Let's do the 2.91, subtracting the previous total output per firm, which was 0. And that's going to be divided by the change in number of workers per firm, which is 5 minus 0. So initially, because of these zeros here for session 0, because of the implied zeros, the average product of labor and the marginal product of labor are the same. But if I go to the next session, things are not going to be quite so straightforward. They're not going to be equal, at least. Average product of labor and marginal product of labor are no longer going to be equal. Now, for that calculation for session 1, the total output per firm is the 32 combined output of all firms divided by the 11 firms. But I've entered cell references, so D6 divided by D5. That tells Excel that for this number, for this total output per firm, what he wants is the value from 2 cells above divided by the value from 3 cells above. And I want to do exactly the same thing with all the other, with this one, this one, this one, and this one. Not that I believe 70 divided by 2, mind you, but not that there's any reason to have that be read. If I take 66 and divide by 9, what number should I get approximately? Yeah, about 7 something. Because 7 times 9 is 63. 66 is a little more than 63. So if I divide 66 by 9, I should get something a little more than 7. Well, if I take this formula in this cell here, and I grab the handle at the lower right, and I just drag it over and release it, yeah, 7.33 makes sense. 7 times 9 is 63. That leaves a remainder of 3, and 3 divided by 9 is 1/3. So 7.33 is exactly right. And I can grab this, and now I can just extend it all the way over. Why? Because I'm lazy. Yes. All right. So those are the total output per firm numbers. Average product of labor. What did I do here? I took the number immediately above the total output per firm and divided by the number up in the row labeled number of workers per firm. So this value of 0.582 is 2.91 divided by 5. Well, what do I want to do in the next cell for session 2? I want to take the 7.33 and divide by 6. 7.33 from this cell, that's the total output per firm, divided by the number of workers per firm. So 7.33 divided by 6 is going to be something a little bit more than 1. Let's see what we get if I just drag this formula. There it is, 1.22. And the next one, what should it be? Well, it's going to be 19.17 divided by 9. So what should that be? A little bit more than 2. There it is. What should the next one be? 2. Exactly 2. 28 divided by 14. And the last one, 35 divided by 28. 1 point something small, actually. Yeah, 1 1/4. Right, 35 divided by 28 is 1, with a remainder of 7. And 7 divided by 28 is 1/4, so 1.25. So let Excel do a lot of this work for us. Now, excuse me, for session 2, the marginal product of labor, right, the change in output per firm divided by the change in the number of workers per firm. For session 2, this is 2.91 minus 0 divided by 5 minus 0. For session 2, the new output per firm is 7.33. The old output per firm was 2.91. Number of workers went from what? From 5 to 6. For session 3, the output per firm is 19.17. That's an increase from 7.33. And the number of workers went from 6 to 9. For session 4, 19.17. 28. And since I've entered a formula in this cell for session 1, if I grab the fill handle at the lower right corner where the cursor changes, and I drag it all the way out, does 4.424 make sense? This is not quite 3. 7 1/3 minus not quite 3 is going to be a little bit more than 4. Divided by 1, 4.42 makes sense. 19 minus 7 is about 12. This is 3. About 12 divided by 3 should be about 4. 3.944 is close. These numbers make sense. That's how you do it. Marginal product, that's what prospective employers are going to be asking themselves about you when they interview you. How are you going to change the output of the firm? What's the firm going to be able to do? How much are we going to be able to sell if we hire you? We know what it's going to cost, but we want to know about the other side. All right, on Friday,